Alrighty. Chokma School episode 11 with MB and Zoe, guys. Hey, sharing link. Um, we are live. Hi guys, you are welcome to episode 11 of Chokma School. Let me know where you are joining us from. If you can hear me, let me see in the comments. Let me know where you're joining us from. We apologize for the delay, and I'm super excited about tonight's meeting. Delay is not denial, so we are here, and I know that you'll be greatly blessed. My host is super poised to come share truth with us. Yes, we are live. Jana says, "Good evening, MB. I'm watching from home. Awesome. If you're joining in, let me know where you're joining us from. Like I always do on here, I like to welcome those in our international community. More Ghana handy, and more Anetiha. Aha. And then so our guest that is joining us from international community. You see, I bring you only the best. Bring you somebody that is coming all the way from United States of America. Togo visa crowd na US. So I'm super excited about tonight's meeting. My sister Zoe has been poised. My brother Kwame Chum says live from Accra. Bro, how you doing? It's been a minute. Johnny says live from Cape Coast. Awesome. I want you to copy the link. Let's post on our WhatsApp statuses, our social media platforms. Let's invite our friends to join in. Tonight's conversation is something that you don't want to miss. It's something that you'll be greatly blessed with. We're going to look at a very interesting subject matter: love, friendship, and the balance of relationships in our lives. And I'm super excited that out of her busy schedule, Zoe has made time to come share with us tonight. Eugene says, live from, I won't say, Minia, how are you doing? God bless you. JP says that live from Sefi Bekwai. Eugene Boateng Pep. Minia Mafio. Um, JP Cinema, live from Sefi Bekwai. Okay. Let us know where you're joining us from. I know we have people in Togo. I know we have people in Kenya. I know we have people in different parts of the world. So let us know where you're joining us from. Once again, we apologize for the technical delay. And, it happens. But I told you guys, today of all days, that we are supposed to experience the 11th hour blessing from Zoe. Today of all days, that we are coming to talk about love, marriage, and did I say marriage? Love, friendship, and relationship. Today of all days. But God is God. We're here. And I see that our numbers are increasing. Awesome, guys. So our guest has been ready since we figured out our technical problems, and she's about to download and upload things for us. You understand? So I want you to be very poised. I want you to open up your heart. Like I usually tell you guys that I always admonish you to pay attention to two things. The first thing I usually admonish you guys to pay attention to is what you listen to and how you listen to what you listen to. What you listen to has got to do with the quality of content that you feed on. What you listen to has got to do with the depth of what you feed on. And you see, how you listen to has got to do with the disposition of your heart. Usually, when it comes to subject matters of love, friendship, the balance of relationships and stuff like that, a lot of you tend to think because there's a way we came to meet how relationships should be. There's a way we came to meet how love should be, but it shouldn't be the case. You understand? My brother Futurist Kwame says, live from Nairobi, Kenya. How you doing, brother? My feel rough. So Michael says, live from Kumasi. Awesome. So I'm going to bring my resource person. This particular subject matter for me is very, very important, and I'm very passionate about it because today's generation, we tend to, miss out on a number of things when it comes to love, friendship, and relationship. And you'd hear me say that the value of a relationship is the value you bring to the relationship, not what you extract from it. And so tonight, our resource person on this particular topic, we're going to do a part one this month, and we'll wrap up 2023's Chokma School episode. 12 sessions so far. We've been consistent. We'll wrap it up with part two with Zoe. So if you listen to part one and the thing enters you, you have to go and invite people for part two, because part two, their grand finale, like Yebeseho. So my sister Zoe is joining us all the way from the States. Those of you that I was asking, I'll tell you, some of you, Togo Visakra Ayedin. This one is US. So you come to hear US English and US knowledge. But Zoe is such an amazing person. I happen to know her. I think we're pretty young, many years back, many years back. She's such an amazing person. She's just not someone who sings, but when she enters a space, I think the space speaks to her, because I remember how my house used to be, and then Zoe showed up in the space, and it's like, "We you say, let's put this here," and I'm like, "How come I'm here and the house is not speaking to me like that?" My prophetic doesn't reach there, but her prophetic and spaces work. So she's not just a resource person, somebody who is knowledgeable on these subject matters around empowering the girl child and empowering people as a whole to make them better versions of themselves. But she's such an amazing interior designer. I think that the portfolio there, it will keep increasing and increasing and increasing. Next time when I bring it again, you hear something else. But tonight we have Zoe Louise all the way joining us all the way from the United States of America. I'm super excited that, guys, we're about to do this. And so I'm bringing our resource person in. Zoe, you're welcome to Chokma School episode.
Hello.
Please, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be
You're
here.
but who difference is a exercise. Roughly,
Oh God, Moses.
and yeah, exciting. No, it's exciting, exciting. Somebody says it's joining us live from Arizona, Kojo. It's exciting to be here. You know, me too. Please, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. You're welcome, Zoe. Please, how are you doing?
I'm
Um,
great. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
we
Thanks so
can hear
much.
you live and clear,
Okay,
clear.
great.
Yeah,
Great. That's
one who
awesome.
difference. Even your oh my god, the lighting self
Oh, Moses, come on.
says I'm joining live from. Obi say I'm joining live from Switzerland. my friend, I know you. You that are saying I join, I know you. You are just behind here. All right, Zoe, you're welcome. Please, you have the floor. Teach us.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
with
you
my
so
notebook
much.
and my pen.
So, before I got on this call, I was asking Moses whether this was going to be like in a conversational form or it was going to be a presentation, and he said it was going to be a presentation. I'm not a big fan of presentations. I like conversations because
In
then then you're able to pick, like where the other person is, and then
mm-hmm,
communicate effectively to that. So I'm gonna
mm-hmm,
start out with the presentation, of course, but
mm-hmm.
somewhere in the middle of the session, it's probably gonna turn out into a conversation. I
A
like a lot of
conversation.
questions, and we could
I
do
have
like a
so
whole
many.
question and answer thing. So,
I have so
yeah.
many for you.
So my name is Zoe Louise, like he said. Thank you so much, Moses, for this opportunity. I totally appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here, actually. And yeah, we've known each other for, is it 10 years or maybe okay, like a little shy
Mm-hmm.
of 10 years. Yeah,
10 years, yeah.
it's been quite the ride, and yeah, finally we're here and growing stronger together. I like the fact that we're no longer just friends, we're family,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
that's the
right.
power of relationships. You
Mm-hmm.
don't just, like you don't get stuck in the family you're born into. You have the choice to make,
Exactly.
family of your own as you go on. And so today, since we're doing a part one, I wanted to, speak to the, let's say, the software part of friendship, love, and relationship before we go into like the hardware part. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by the software is, I think that Moses, you've said over and over again in several conversations you've had, that most of the time it is what is unseen that creates the scene. And
That's right.
so whatever your mindset is, whatever your mental models are, whatever those things are, like your blueprints are, those are the things that curate the physical experiences that you have. And so today I want to spend a lot more time talking about you know um, those software parts of yourself, your blueprints, your value system, your belief systems, those things that create the kind of relationships that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an interesting fact that I usually talk about when I talk about this subject is the fact that by the time I was 24, I discovered that I had spent 17 years of my life in romantic relationships. And
Please repeat it again so that we can.
so yeah, by the time I was 24, I did a little calculation, like to see where I started from and where I was at the time. And at
Okay.
24, I had spent about 17 years of my life in relationships, romantic relationships. I remember my first relationship was in, I think it was in class two. My boyfriend promised me that he was going to Italy. He'll come back for me, and up to today, we're still trying to find, where he'll come back for me because
Usi, Usi
I've been
Macho.
waiting. I've been waiting for him to come for me to Italy up till today. He's still not here, and I remember every class I was since that time there was like a boyfriend or the other. And I think that I figured out that the reason why I kept jumping from one relationship to the other was, as a 24, there wasn't a season in my life that I didn't have some kind of a boyfriend, except in
Okay.
class 5, because in class
Okay.
5 the boys in my class were not fine. I'm not the type to go for like fine per se, but in class 5, really, like the boys, they were not the best. So
Mhm.
I didn't get anybody in class 5.
Oh, class five boys of your time, we are sorry.
So yeah, it was like that until after university, about 2 or 3 years after university, when I was 24, and I kind of came to the place where I was like, you know what, it's okay. And the reason why I realized I was doing this was because I was afraid of being alone.
Mm.
I was afraid of being by myself. I have a very interesting mind, and my husband will be the one to tell you. I ask very weird questions, and sometimes out of the blue, sometimes at very wrong times, at sometimes at good times. You can't predict. I have a very
Mm-hmm.
interesting mind, and it's also the thing about me that allows me to see things that people don't see. And
Mm.
before I came to realize the power of that, I struggled with it. I didn't want to be by myself. I didn't want to have to be alone with myself to entertain my mind and my thoughts.
Mhm.
And so I always tried to be in some kind of relationship, some kind of friendship to occupy me so that I didn't have to deal with that part of me. Now, the reason why I am starting from this point is because one of the greatest things that we must know, which you just pointed to, is the fact that the quality of every relationship is based on the individuals that make the relationship. Now,
Mhm.
human beings are naturally hardwired for relationships. We're born into families, we grow up into
Exactly.
friendships, we find a significant other, we build a family, and then we continue the cycle, right? So we're naturally like born into relationships. We are hardwired for relationships. And
Mhm.
it has been found that in the absence of love and belonging, there is always suffering. Did
Mm.
you know that loneliness kills people more than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and
That's
obesity?
why that's why Asake sang lonely at the top.
People who are lonely have the tendency to die several times faster than
Mm.
people who are smoking a pack of cigarettes every
I never
single
knew
day.
that.
Yeah, and it's so serious because you're thinking, okay, if I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes every day, I'm prone to lung cancer and all these respiratory conditions, and probably it should kill you like really soon. But
Mhm.
it turns out to be that people who are lonely die faster. And then there is this story of is it porcupines. So there's a story of porcupines who had to be in the winter season, and usually when they're
Mhm.
on their own, they had the comfort of not pricking each other, but then they suffered the cold by being on their
Okay.
own. And then when they gathered together, they shared the warmth of being with each other. However, the cost of that was that the what do you want to call it, the pikes that they have on their skin, it was
Mhm.
pricking them once they were together, and so they
Mm.
separated again, and then they realized that when they were away, they died
Mhm.
faster than when they were together, and when they were
Together.
together they could actually endure the pain of being pricked by each
Mm.
other's pikes and stuff. And it
Mm.
sort of speaks to the nature of human beings. We have
Exactly.
issues with people. Like, you're not going to
Mm.
find a relationship that's perfect. Like, you're not going to find a friend or a brother who is everything you want the person to be.
That's
But you
right.
will have to make the choice between being alone, being by yourself, or dealing with that insufficiency or that lack in the person, and still
Mm.
enjoying the warmth of having an actual relationship. So those are
Right.
like the trade-offs that we have to do when it comes to relationships. The bonds and connections that we share with people is what gives meaning, and is what gives meaning to life, and it contributes a high degree to our sense of well-being. There are several
Mm.
studies on the science of well-being and the science of happiness that proves that one of the core factors, if you're going to be happy, successful, or have a
Mhm.
fulfilling life, you have to have
Right.
certain relationships in your life. The first one is that you have to have people depending on you, and then you have
Mm.
to have two people you can depend on.
Depend
And those
on.
are two key relationships that you need in your life at any point in time to have a meaningful life. Because
Mm.
people that depend on you give you a sense of responsibility. And it
Right.
is that responsibility that keeps you going. Sometimes you feel like some people are being a burden on you, people are depending on you too much. But trust me, so now I live alone. When I cook, I eat alone. But
Mhm.
sometimes it's so difficult because I'm cooking all this food and I'm like, who is going to eat this food? I wish my husband was here. I wish my girls were here, and then I'll cook, and everybody, and most of the time when I'm back at home, what actually happens is that you cook a full meal, you serve everyone, and then you have just very little left that you eat. And the fact that everyone else is eating gives you so much more fulfillment than the fact that you have like a full plate to eat. So it's
Exactly.
like that. You need those kind of relationships in your life. First one, a relationship where you have people that depend on you to give you a sense of responsibility, so you can keep pushing, so you can keep ascending, because
Right.
that's how life is. It is the need for growth. It is that need for crossing or breaking your own what you want to call it. It is that need for breaking your own records that keeps you going. It gives you something to live for. Truth be told, if there is nobody connected to you or nobody that depends on you, when you wake up in the morning, you have no motivation to get out, really.
That's
Because
right.
trust me, even the people who are entrepreneurs and the rich people in the world, people who have it all, what keeps them going is what they're able to bring to serve the world. The
People.
world is depending on them. And that is why they wake up in the morning. It's not because they think they're such geniuses and they have like such great ideas to share. Because trust me, there
Exactly.
are geniuses who don't have anybody depending on them, because you have to have people who believe in what you have to give. Somebody must be excited to eat your food. Somebody must be excited to buy your product. Somebody must be excited
Exactly.
to listen to you. You might have a great deal of wisdom. If there is no community to listen, your wisdom is almost, like there's no sense to it,
That's
because who is it
exactly.
helping? Who is it serving? Right? And so
Mhm.
even though we have this mindset, especially of this generation, I'm gonna come there. The whole society has changed and is making,
I know.
relationships look very funny. If you come to the place where you feel like I'm better off alone, and
Mm.
I could just enjoy my life by myself, I could just do things by myself, trust me, you are not too sophisticated, you are not too complex. The things you need are not that much.
Exactly.
After a few months, you'll be so fed up, because you will have everything you need and there will be nothing more to gain. Once you're serving people, there is always room for growth, there's always room for improvement. And then the second type of relationship you need, the people that you can depend on. Everybody needs a support system. You
Exactly.
cannot be the hero and savior of the whole world. You
Mm.
need your own place where you can go to cry when it gets hard, because
Even
those
Jesus
times will
had one.
come. Trust me, Jesus was out here saving the world.
Mm-hmm.
And at his 11th hour, when he was supposed to go and die on the cross, he went into the garden to pray. Even
Mm-hmm.
he needed a support system. He took 3 of the disciples with him. Look at how upset he was that they were not able to pray with him for 3 hours. He
Mm-hmm.
was so upset about it. And that should tell you how important it is to have people that you can lean on, people that
Exactly.
you can depend on. And so
Mm.
when you are building your circle as a person, you're not just looking at, because one of the things that I've also realized is that the Bible says that he who wants to be the greatest should serve. And so usually what happens is people like to serve with the intention of being the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a legit principle. It works.
Mm-hmm.
However, you need to understand that if that's your only motivation, God will send people into your life who are to serve you. But then
Mm-hmm.
because you have this mind of wanting to be the greatest or wanting to have control, you end up messing up those relationships. There are
Mm.
people who are sent to you for you to depend on, and you have to be able to identify those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that are bigger than you, and they are bigger than you because they are there to serve you. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
go into man and woman, especially in this context, but part two we'll talk about
They
it.
can't. They can't take it. Then they can't take it. They should
No, no,
come
no,
next
no,
month.
because it will be very controversial. Because when the
No.
Bible talks about the fact that it's not good for the man to be alone, and so God sends him a helper, and you think that the helper is subservient because she came second, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how your mental framework is wired,
Yes.
because somebody who comes to help you usually has more than you. Somebody who
Exactly.
comes to help you usually is
Yes.
mm, is
Mm.
well. Let's move on. Because I don't want to say it for it to look like, oh, women are more important than men. That's not the point. And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
somebody was sent to help you also does not mean that they're more important than you. It's just a role. It's a ministry. It's a service.
Mm-hmm.
It's a work. Do you get
Mm-hmm.
it? And usually
Exactly.
people who are sent to help others have more than the people they've been sent to help. And so
Mm.
you need to be able to identify these people in your lives. Now, the second thing, the next thing I want to talk about is this. You can only love people as much as you love yourself.
Right.
Listen, the kind of relationship you're having, the quality of friendships you're having, the kind of relationship you have with your team, your work people, your church people, your whatever kind of relationship you're having is dependent on the relationship you're having with yourself. There's no two
Mm-hmm.
ways about that. Now,
Mm.
there's a subject which I've been studying for a while that I want to talk about. It's called the theory of belonging. Now, the
Mm.
theory of belonging, talks about the fact that in an attempt to want to belong, or in an attempt to want to have relationships, there are
Mm-hmm.
many ways we conduct ourselves. And it has been researched like over the years how we sort of position ourselves in order to be able to have or cultivate relationships with other people. Now, we can only love as much as we love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it looks like. Whatever your mind tells you about yourself, whatever you perceive about yourself, whatever you interpret about yourself, is the same interpretation you give to the feedback that you're getting from the world. The world is
Mm.
not what you see, the world is what is within your mind. Everything you are seeing is because of what is up here. What if you think that people don't like you, is because you don't like yourself. If you think that people hate you, is because you hate yourself. If you think that, look, there are some people, no matter how evil you are to them, they are so happy. They cannot
Mm-hmm.
even see the evil you are doing. It's because
Exactly.
of how they are interpreting the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you, let's say in the last like I was saying, I had 17 I was in 17 different relationships. Those 17 relationships had like different dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I had all those types of different relationships was because of how I was seeing myself.
Mm.
Because if you're thinking that you're afraid to be with yourself, who should be
Mm-hmm.
excited to be with you? But if you're excited to be with yourself, trust me,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who don't even try. They don't even try to make friends. I think that for
Exactly.
me, my greatest coach and mentor when it comes to relationship building is Future's Kwame. Because I'm
Mm.
like, how do you do it? You're always, it's not like you're even trying to make friends with people. You just end up becoming friends with people. And some of those friendships tend to have so much meaning and so much depth that you wonder, wait, was this premeditated? Was this something that you planned? Was it something that you prayed about? But I
Mm-hmm.
realized that no, it's because of how the person is wired internally and the kind of mindset that the person is operating with.
Mm-hmm.
There's one scripture that I love so much. It says that perfect love casts out all fear, or cast away all fear. One of the biggest things that impedes our success in relationships is fear. If you have
Mm.
fear within you about anything, about your life, about anything, it's going to reflect in all the relationships that you have. Because
Mm.
everything you do will be colored with that, sense of fear. And the moment fear is in the equation, life is lost.
Mm.
When I say life is lost, I mean that the trueness of, like true intentions, genuineness of heart is lost because of the presence of fear. Those two
Mm.
things cannot exist at the same time. You cannot have fear and love truly coexisting at the same time. It's like light and darkness. One will, sort of
Over.
blow the other one out. And so you need to understand that framework, that whatever kind of relationship I want, I can achieve,
Mm-hmm.
but it will start with me.
Right.
Now let's talk about what I call fitting in. How many of us are in relationships? If you're in a relationship, please show by hand. I'm going to the comments to see what's there.
Please, if you are
If
in a relationship, just type 111. I'll be met. If you are in a relationship, 111. Some of you are in relationships with yourselves.
if you're in a relationship, please type 111.
Let's do this quick one. If
And
you are in
then
a
how
relationship,
many of us would like to be in a relationship?
type
How many of
222.
us would like to be in a relationship?
If you like to be in a relationship, type 222.
Okay. Then my last one is, how many of us are in a relationship, but we wish that every now and then we could go out of the relationship?
Type 333.
So this is what happens to us, okay? Most of the times we're trying to foster what we call connection with people, and usually what happens is that in our attempt to foster connection, we ask ourselves a question: who do I have to be, or what do I have to do to gain acceptance in this place? Now, what we do and who we become in order to be accepted by other people is a mask we put on. And that's not who we truly are. The moment you put on the mask, whoever it is falls in love with you, or whoever it is wants to be your friend. Remember that the reason why they are accepting, or the reason why they are coming into that relationship with you, is because you have a mask on.
Exactly.
In order to sustain that relationship, you will need to keep the mask on. As human beings, we are not wired that way. One day, you would want to take the mask off.
That's right.
The moment you take off the mask, you're like, wait, who is this? We don't like this. You're changing. You're becoming something else. You start having issues. And then
Mood
now
swing.
what you begin to experience is that you feel like people don't love you for who you are. But remember that you did not present who you are. You presented who they want to accept, or what they want to accept.
That's right.
Now, what happens after you have tried to fit in is people who always try to fit in have issues with self-esteem. Now, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is basically how you see yourself. So imagine you had a friend who always says that, oh, I'll be coming to your place at 3 p.m. And then 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., they show up at 6 p.m. It happens once, twice, 3 times. The next time the person says they're coming at 3 p.m., look, you're not even expecting them at 3 p.m. at that point, because you know who they are, and you don't trust their word. There's another friend who says that, oh, if you need anything, please call me. Then the day you needed anything and you called, the phone is off. Or whenever you called, they made you feel like, you were being a bother. They made you feel like this and this and that. Now, you don't really trust their word when they say it anymore.
Exactly. Please, 1 minute. If you're watching, I want you to copy the link and then post it on your status, post it on your social media platform so people can join in on the stream. And someone asked, will the audio be available to share? Yes, right after the session. This part 1 series of this particular topic is going to be on my YouTube channel, so you can access it anytime you want. And so, Zoe, please continue. I see that there's some questions coming in already. Interesting.
Okay, great. So I was talking about self-esteem. So
Right.
now you begin to perceive the person because they've disappointed you a couple of times. You know that that's who they are. You don't trust their word and everything. This is how self-esteem operates. It is the same principle. However, the person you are feeling that way about is yourself. So you know within yourself that these are your set of values. This is your value system. This is who you are, and these are the things you believe in. However, when you appear in a certain location because you want to be accepted, you switch up, or you change, you present yourself as a different person just to be accepted in that space. Now, when you leave the space and you go and sit with yourself at home, yourself begins to speak to you. I thought this was who we were. I thought, we were this person. I thought we were that person. And so now your inner self does not trust you anymore, because what you say you are, you don't show up as.
Exactly.
And it gives you it's so interesting because it gives you a low credibility with your own self. And it's such a difficult place to be, because there's something called personal agency. I'm going to talk about that later. But personal agency is your belief that you can move yourself to do what you have to do. And it
Mm,
stems from willpower. If you don't
mm,
trust yourself, all these lines of things will be affected. And
yeah,
then what happens is that it transfers into the relationships you're in, because you're
exactly.
not showing up as your higher self. You are not
Exactly.
bringing your full self into the relationship.
Uh-huh.
You are losing yourself or becoming a shadow of yourself. So even the feedback you are getting from the relationship, you are unable to enjoy, because that's not even who you are.
Mm,
Because you know for a fact that I want more of this. I want to
uh-huh.
be this, but you can't be this because you are afraid of losing connection.
Exactly.
Now, true belonging, which is what you need if you want to foster any kind of healthy relationship, from friendship to family ties to romantic relationships, is being able to embrace the sacredness of being part of something,
Mm,
and still having the courage to stand alone.
mm. Please take that again so that the people can soak it in like Gary.
True belonging
Mm-hmm.
is the ability to embrace the sacredness of being a
Mm,
part of something.
mm,
And this is why I say that the sacredness of being part of something is because at the core of it, we are all connected. We are one.
exactly.
Everything that was made is a part of the one who made it.
Mm-hmm.
Chokma School is your baby. Chokma School is
Mm,
you. It
mm-hmm.
is every book you've written is you. It is
Exactly.
you in extension. When we pick up the book, we are literally reading you.
Exactly.
And so we are all connected at one because we were made by one, right?
Exactly.
And so being able to understand that you're a part of something,
Mm-hmm.
and then even though you know that you're a part of something, you're still able to appreciate your oneness, your
Mm-hmm.
uniqueness, your
Mm-hmm.
difference, and stand alone when need be, is what we call true belonging.
Right.
The only way to be able to achieve true belonging is to have an understanding of what we call self-loyalty.
Mm,
In relationships, we want to, when we talk about loyalty in relationships, we're talking about being honest, not betraying the person's trust, saying doing what you said you will do, and all of
mm-hmm.
that. That is the same way it translates when it comes to self-loyalty. I think I wrote something here. I want to check if I have it in my notes and see if I can read it for you about self-loyalty. It was one time I was having a conversation with my friend. I texted her at first and I said, um, so from an outsider's point of view, when I look at you, I think you like yourself very much. And she was like, wow, that's such a powerful statement. That's such a deep statement. And she was like, call me, call me. So I called her, and then we had a long ass conversation, about an hour's conversation. At the end of the conversation, this was a conclusion we came to about self-loyalty. Let me find it in my notes and read it for you. I have it right here somewhere. Okay. So, how to belong to yourself. The
Mm-hmm.
people that belong to themselves are so loyal to themselves that they will
Mm-hmm.
not want to do anything to betray themselves.
Mm,
They avoid any situation,
mm-hmm.
relationships, conversations that tend to violate their true self or boundaries.
Mm,
They are so conscious and present, they do not engage with others and walk away wishing they had done something different.
mm,
They do what they truly want to do and they save nothing for later. They do not, under any circumstance, dim their lights just to make others comfortable.
mm,
These are people who tell the truth because they are not afraid of the faces of others more than their own face. They would rather conveniently have others judge them than to be their own inner critic. They protect their self-image and self-esteem with the ferociousness of a lion, They
Mm.
don't talk about people behind their backs because they would rather say it in front of them where the other person can hear it.
Right.
This is a concept I call self-loyalty, where you
Mm.
do everything to authentically and truly feel acceptance with yourself, where you are comfortable with yourself because your actions are consistently true to who you are at any point in time. That was my
Mm.
conclusion after the conversation we had. Sometimes we betray ourselves over and over again just to fit into certain spaces, just to be able to be accepted by other people. And
That's
then
right.
that leaves us sort of half full. We're not able to bring ourselves fully and wholly into, a relationship. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
biggest challenge that we have had in our generation is that there is such a challenge to be authentic,
Mm.
because there's so many standards of what a person should be. There's
That's
so
right.
many standards of what an entrepreneur should be. There's a standard of what a woman should be. There's a standard of what a man should be. There's a standard of what a beautiful woman should look like. There's a standard of what a relationship worthy man should look like. It's like there's so many standards and so many
That's
differences. But what we don't realize is that at the core, we are very different. We're all
mm-hmm.
very different, and we cannot be the same. Our lives are like a puzzle. Now, this is where relationships come in. Moses, you have a set of strengths
Mm-hmm.
and a set of weaknesses that you come into this world with. I
Exactly.
have a set of strengths and a set of weaknesses. Now, the reason why it is like that is so that your strengths will make up for my weaknesses and
That's
my
right.
strengths will make up for your weaknesses. And if
Exactly.
we're able to understand that, we will not always want to look for somebody who is exactly like us. Because
Mm-hmm.
what will somebody who is exactly like you serve you? They have everything you have, and they don't have everything you don't have.
Exactly.
There is literally no point in
Mm-hmm.
having such a relationship, in quotes,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
because you cannot serve each other,
Mm.
because both of you have exactly the same thing.
The same thing.
And
There's nothing
every time
transactional.
I every time I think about marriage or I think about relationship, I think about it as teamwork. Nobody picks like like you're a company and all your employees are graphic designers.
Or
Ah,
a football team and everybody is a striker.
I mean, how? Like
Yeah.
we have to have, differences. We have to have like we have to be bringing different things into the
Mm-hmm.
source so that it
Mm-hmm.
makes it rich. A
Exactly.
relationship that has varying strengths and weaknesses actually is stronger than a relationship that has the same strengths and weaknesses on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so you should not want to. Thing is, this is why relationships don't work,
Hmm.
because you are looking at somebody's wedding that they did.
Hmm.
That looks so good on Instagram.
Hmm.
And you want to, because you want to be socially accepted, you want to create that same
That's
kind of relationship. So
mm-hmm.
you don't evaluate what you have to see
Mm-hmm.
what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I think about relationships, I think about a team that is going on a trip through the desert. And so
Mm-hmm.
you are bringing resources with you, and your resources are your strengths and your weaknesses that you share.
Mm.
Imagine
Mm.
that you're going through the desert and then you pick, somebody's ideal because somebody
Mm.
picked them. You don't know why the person picked them.
Exactly.
And you expect to have similar results, but you are not the person who picked the other set. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever the other set has that is working for them might not be working for you because you're not the same set. And
Exactly.
so you can even have the same marital counseling, you can have the same set of friends, you can come from the same family, but you will not have the same relationship experience because it's two
Exactly.
different people in both
Exactly.
relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
so relationships are so unique, and it's like it's custom made. There is no one size fits all in any type of relationship, not even friendships. There is no one size fits all, and you have to be open to that idea. The idea that it is custom made. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you have, and then look for it in whichever team member you want to pick to bring onto your team. I wanted to I'm going to talk about, like, men and women's relationships and marriage, but I wanted to save that for part 2, and then
Okay.
talk about what I call the revolution of relationships. And then we
Okay.
can take questions and then answer them.
Right.
And then next month we can talk about men and women relationships and then marriages. Okay. So what we experience now, which is why you cannot compare yourself to other people or want what other people want, is because now we've experienced what we call the revolution of relationships. So, like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have like your basic needs and your all the way up to your self-esteem needs.
Yeah.
Now the world has changed. Okay. The family is the basic unit of society. Agreed.
That's right.
The society is built by families. Agreed. Now, when the collective structure of the society changes, the family system changes to support that structure, which is why the family unit is important and it has to be protected at all costs, because the moment we don't have a family structure, we are going to lose the entire society.
Exactly.
Now, before now, we had, throughout the history of man, we've had what we call hunting and gathering. I think this one, I don't know where we did this, whether it was in our Greek or social studies or something like that. But there is the era of hunting and gathering where, the man had to be the powerful one. He had to be able to overcome the beasts of the field, because he had to literally go out there and look for, wild berries, wild food, gather it and bring it to the family.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't, if you wanted to pair up with a man as a woman, you're not looking for a weak man. You're looking for like a very strong man. And the strongest man was the one who had, the muscles and had the height and had the, field knowledge to be able to go out there, kill beasts, bring home, some kind of game, and then the woman prepares it and blah, blah, blah. And then we went into what we call subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is where now families started, creating gardens and farms for themselves, because now we weren't going around to look for the food anymore. We brought the seeds home to sort of cultivate it so we could have supply all year round. Because if we have to always go out and look for it, there's a probability that today, if I go out, I might not get some and bring back. So when we started doing that, now the family system changed. Initially, we had a family system where the man had to be like really powerful, sort of big, huge, and then the woman had to be also quite powerful, because you have to protect the kids against any wild stuff that come in the case the man is not around.
That's right.
Then we came to subsistence farming, where the family unit was now sort of the labor of the labor, for the family. And so at that time, at that time, sex was not like, you're not having sex for pleasure. Like you're having sex because you want to give birth. Do you understand? And so the woman had to, at that time, the requirements for the woman was she had to be fertile, she had to be very productive, she had to have the strength to be able to mother multiple children. And at the time, we were okay with having polygamous relationships because we needed numbers. Okay. Now we came into large production, where the large production model, where the big companies are the ones who do the big productions, and we all go and buy from the big, production. And so now what we needed was a man who could provide the substance for us to buy the food. So Dr. Miles Monroe will say that. So the man went to work, he got the money, he brought the food, and the woman stayed at home. She kept the children, and she, she prepared the food and she served it. We moved from that model, and then now we are in the service model.
Mm.
The requirements for relationships have vastly changed.
That's
Women
right.
have money, men have money.
Mm-hmm.
Women are not expecting the men to go out there, bring money for us to go and buy anything anymore. We
Mm-hmm.
have the money, we have the food. Nobody needs that anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is
Yeah.
farming, nobody is killing a lion to get food. Like those things are not happening anymore. Now people are looking for what will give them relationships, relationships that will bring them transformation,
Mm-hmm.
relationships that will bring them self-actualization, relationships that are inspiring to them.
Mm.
The model we have now for relationships, it's experiential, it's based on experience. It's more
Mm-hmm.
of how do I feel, or
Mm.
how is this relationship meeting my self-esteem needs, how is this
Mm.
relationship meeting my self-actualization needs. The same way you have the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we've moved from the basic needs all the way to self-actualization. That's where we are with relationships right now.
Mm.
We've
Mm.
moved from the place where I need you to provide for me. Now I
Mm.
need you to inspire me to become my best self.
Exactly.
If you haven't noticed this is a trend that is going on a lot. And if you pay attention to social media, you will discover it. That
Mm-hmm.
now men are not looking for, in like about, was it about 5 years ago or so, that people started talking about, oh, I want a woman who can have intelligent conversation. Like, when did
Yeah.
that even come? Now, what we want in relationships are people who can help us transform, people who can help us
Exactly.
become better. So the
Mm-hmm.
requirements have changed. And if you don't understand this, you will miss out on being able to create or to sort of curate a great relationship for yourself. The other thing you should realize is that because we are now in a service-based economy, everything is moving very fast.
Exactly.
The rate at which new models of phones are coming out, the rate at which new business models are coming out, the rate at which everything is moving is so fast. And
Yeah.
so there is, like in the past, there were rules of how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
But now what worked 2 years ago does not work today.
Exactly.
Because of that, there is a need for constant communication.
Mm.
One of the things you need in a relationship these days to survive is constant communication. If you don't know how to communicate, you will suck at relationships. I'm sorry. There's nothing you
Mm.
can do about it. Because trust me, what you needed 2 years ago, that the
Mm.
person who you're with was providing for you, now you no longer need. But you have
Mm.
to find a way to tell them that, honey, I've moved from here to here, and I will love it if you could do this and this and that.
Mm.
The question is, how do you how do you intelligently articulate this thing that you now need to the person
Mm-hmm.
that you're with?
Yeah.
This is the problem of most relationships. So because I'm
Communication.
not finding, so this is what's happening now. Because we don't know how to communicate, I need something. I don't know how to say that I need what I need. And so I look out there, see who's providing it, and then I pay attention to them. And then I
And
neglect
communication
the
has
relationship that
become.
I have. If you had communicated, your partner probably could have made some adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
But then because there is no communication, or there is a lack of communication, you're unable to maintain the relationship.
Mm.
Now, the pace at which we're moving is so fast that the next thing you need is balance, apart
Mm.
from communication. After communication, the next thing you need is, I'm sorry, but the communication part, I cannot really like emphasize it enough. It's so crucial.
It's very, very important.
Like
It's like the foundation of everything.
everything, everything. Because at first, like, that your dad goes to work, comes back home with the money. You're like, everybody knew what they were supposed to do. But now
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what we're supposed to do. So we have to communicate and establish, the rules as we go. What?
And one thing, one thing, not to catch you, but one thing I've realized with communication, I think observing the trends, I think that a lot of people tend to think communicating is just you speaking.
Uh-uh.
Wakasa,
Uh-uh.
wakasa. But last year I got married. I'm just like less than a year, almost a year married. But preparing to get married, I'm the type that says I'm not going to approach anything with common sense. So else you get common results. So I'm listening to my man of God ran me through church counseling, but I also wanted to listen to a psychologist's perspective on
Mm-hmm.
counseling.
On that.
And one of the things that I realized like runs through everything is communication. And then in that instance, I got to appreciate that, okay, when we're looking at communication, there's the tonation, there's the delivery, there's the timing. So it was in that period that a lot of things, even in my relationship with other people and my spouse, started making sense because
Yeah.
in that place you are learning that, okay, the fact that your partner is going through something and says I don't want to talk about it does not mean they don't want to talk about it, but maybe they don't want to talk about it now, so they probably need like a timeout. And these are communication things and people don't know this. I'm like, okay, communication, body language plays a key role. Then you're going through the never assume, always ask principle. Then I'm like, okay, so why is it that they've made you look like communication there? And one, babe, I've not eaten, cook for me, and that is it.
Now, even with that, even with those blocks of principles, I I don't know whether this is a field. I'm sure it's a field that already exists, but it's something that I call intelligent communication in
Mm,
relationships. Because human beings are naturally very selfish. So I see a question in the chat says that, but what if you communicate well, but your need is neglected? Listen,
mm,
this is what I believe. Human beings can be trained.
mm,
You can get your partner to do any and everything you want by knowing how to intelligently communicate.
mm,
Thing is, you have to know how human beings are wired. You cannot, you see, there are different ways of presenting your case.
mm,
You cannot, at certain points in your relationship, and this is like a whole block of teaching when it
mhm,
comes to relationships, but just a little part of it, at certain points of your relationship, you cannot communicate a need as though it is a need. Like I was saying, we are in a situation where people need to be inspired in their
mm,
relationships. You
mhm,
can get your partner to do what you want them to do by
mhm,
inspiring them to do what you want them to do.
mm,
Give them a reason to believe that what you want them to do is actually what they want to do. Listen,
mm,
we all don't have a mind of our own. Like, you're walking around thinking that all your thoughts are your own thoughts. No, it's not
mm.
true. You're walking
That's right.
around thinking that all your choices are your own choices. That's not true.
Mhm,
Your environment is hardwired to give you a lot of feedback that contributes to the final decisions that you make.
mhm,
So when you have, communicated, you're not getting what you want, you can always use your environment to send the message.
mm,
There are a lot, and for me, I say this to women in particular. I had a conversation. We had tea with the girls here a couple of weeks ago, and then somebody was asking, so what if you want your man to do this and this and this and that? And I'm like, first of all, men don't like being told what to do.
mm,
So you have to tell them what to do without telling them what to do.
mhm.
And they will pick it up and do it as though it was their own idea. And you have to let it be. You don't have to want to now say that, this is what I was saying before. And this was my idea. If you always want to be the one that suggested the idea, sometimes you will not get anything done. So there's a
Mm,
way to communicate intelligently to get what you need without necessarily saying the thing as it is. And when you
mm.
read 48 Laws of Power, you get a lot of
Or,
those things there.
mm.
So that's for your reading. The
But
next thing,
to this question, what if I'm seeing, he says, what if you communicate well, but then your need is neglected? I think that I'm asking though,
mhm.
that and this is like a trend that I realize with people. I realize that usually when people are communicating, they tend to project the response they want to hear.
Yeah,
And so, and so it's like, I'm telling you, I want this. I have already created a
the
certain
response.
response
I do
that
it
I
all the
want to
time.
hear.
Trust me, I do it all the time. I'm a woman. I can't help it. It's like sometimes you just
So I'm like, wait, what if the person is doing that? Then doesn't that also then affect what like the King Leo is saying here?
So what I think is that when it comes to that particular subject, relationships are, so I think that in order to be able to cultivate a true fulfilling relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you have to accept that you will not get everything you want.
Mm. 80-20 principle.
And you have to, like, you have to be happy, you sort of have to make peace with it.
Right.
Now, before you go in to communicate something, if you do have an expectation, most likely your expectation will be cut short. I remember not long ago, it's not even been up to a month. I was gonna text my husband something. And when I texted him, the Holy Spirit said to me, he's not going to come to you the way you want him to. People, trust me. My husband started saying the things that I wanted to hear. No, then he veered into some different thing. And then the Holy Spirit was, I told you he's not going to come to you the way you want to. And for me, that was like a shock absorber for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I had that relationship with the Holy Spirit in order to know what was coming and not be
Mm-hmm.
disappointed by what came after. And
Mm.
then many weeks after, we spoke about it, and I told him that, oh, Holy said that this and this and this before you said what you said. And for him, he had he was just saying what was on his mind, and sort of was just going with what he felt had to be said. But then
Mm.
how I received it was now what made the difference in our relationship.
Mm.
If you don't, how do I put this? If you don't condition yourself for that, the fact that you will not always get what you want,
Mm.
then you're going to set yourself up for failure. And like I was saying, you see, the quality of the relationship is based on the quality of the people in the relationship. The relationship
Mm.
is not there to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the purpose of your relationship. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're going into the relationship for happiness, you might be disappointed.
Exactly.
Relationships are basically, it's just the way we have family. They are there to curate your own personal growth.
Exactly.
And you have to be able to accept it. They do have their place when it comes to fulfilling our needs,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not always the case that it happens that way. And you need to know how to, thing is, you need to know how to assess the need, right?
Mm.
You need to be able to assess the need. Sometimes what you think you need, it is not your partner that will give to you.
Mm. Mm.
Just about, I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday, I wanted to send my husband a text, and the Holy Spirit was like, he's not the one you need that from. You're not going to get that from there. You need it
Mm-hmm.
from you. And
Mm.
I was like, okay, free me. Because, like, in my mind, I'm thinking that, oh, I need this thing from my husband. But then actually, it's not my husband I need it from. And so sometimes you're thinking that there is a need you have, and your partner is the one supposed to fulfill it. Before marriage, I'm very big on being friends with your partner. I'm very, very big on that. But before marriage, I was more of the mind that, you don't, not like you don't need friends, but like your partner
Mm-hmm.
can be everything to you. I'm sorry, your partner cannot be everything to you.
That's right.
You need a healthy balance of all the relationships in your life. You need your family, you need your friends, if you're a male, you need your male friends. If you're a female, you need your female friends. Because sometimes it's not like you don't want to talk to your partner. It's just because the construct of that relationship does not afford you the opportunity to have the conversation the way you want to have the conversation. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest. All married people know this.
Mm.
So you have to make up your mind that the fact that you're married to somebody does not mean that they will be your whole world. There are other
Exactly.
people around you who are also sent to fulfill some of your needs. And so you have to be able to have a good assessment of the need you have, and to be sure that it is only your partner that can give that need to you
Mm.
before you put in that request. And if you put in the request and you're not receiving it, have an intelligent way of recommunicating it to get their attention to work on that particular need. I think that that's
Right.
what I'd say to Leo's
Someone
question.
says, please, my question is, how do you ask without asking? Can I get an example?
Hey, this one there. I cannot give an example out here. Please, please. You don't see me in chambers. No, 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 no,
All right.
no.
I have a question here from a friend. He says, can you share insights on nurturing both romantic relationship and friendships simultaneously without neglecting one over the other?
Oh, okay.
Can you share
Um,
insights on nurturing both romantic relationships and friendships simultaneously without neglecting one over the other?
okay. I think that the key you need to that is boundaries.
Mm,
It is probably you because you need to know where which one starts and where it ends. Okay. The reason why we have those challenges, or the reason why you might have that challenge, is because you don't know where one begins and where the other ends. And so they keep bleeding into each other, and then you have problems.
mm-hmm,
You need to decide which one of them is priority
mm,
over the other. It doesn't mean that one is more important than the other. You just need to know which one serves which purpose. Like, this one serves this purpose, this one serves that purpose. But when the
mm,
two clash, how do I separate the two? You will have to make that decision. Sometimes, I think I've had an incident of this once where somebody, I think it was an issue of either a job and the relationship or something and the relationship. And I
mm,
was like, you need to answer the question of which one of these is more important to me and which one of these can I lose for the other.
mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to answer that question on your own, because
Honestly.
yeah, you know why you have built those relationships and why they are
Mm,
important to you. You need to be able to assess those. I feel like the problem there might be that you haven't honestly like sat with yourself to ask
mm-hmm,
the questions about why this relationship and why this friendship. If you know
mm,
the purpose they serve, they will never clash,
mm,
because you know where each one of them is. The
mm.
moment one begins to bleed into the other, then you have to reconsider the relationship
Exactly.
to see whether, okay, so like say you have a friendship and like you have a friend, and then you have like a fiance or somebody.
You have a bestie and a fiance.
You have a bestie and a fiance.
Bestie
The
concept of generation.
the bestie must know where their boundaries are in your life, and the fiance must also know where their boundaries are.
Mm,
The fiance must know about the bestie, who they
mm-hmm,
are in your life, why they are this important to you. Now, if you are wise, you can curate those two relationships in such a way that they support each other and don't tear it apart.
mm,
You can do it under any circumstance. I'm telling you.
mm.
Let your mind run wild. You can do it under
The
any
foundation is the foundation
circumstance
is if you are wise.
if you are wise. But the problem is that most people are not wise, or most people don't have the wisdom. Let me divert into something else. Like, let's say there is a man,
Mm-hmm,
he has a wife and he has a side chick.
mm,
You will be surprised. Your side chick and your wife can be besties for your sake
mm.
if you know how to run it.
Same way our king, he has a wife and a side chick. People come from our head and your head. Oh.
Oh, let us not deny what is already in the market.
Hey,
If
what a
you are,
conversation.
if you are, so yeah, that, like, I feel like there
Do
is
you
a
think that's
wisdom
possible?
in managing those things,
Do you
and
think that's
you
possible? A man and his side chick being besties. A man's wife and his side chick being besties.
it happens
Impossible.
every day.
Mm,
It happens every single day.
mm,
And you see, the reason why women in polygamous relationships may fight is because the
mm,
man is not wise.
mm,
If the man is wise, they will never fight. It won't
mm,
happen. It won't happen.
mm, mm, mm. This one we have to drink tea on it.
Yes, we have to.
Someone
Yeah.
says, wife and side chick, show me the way. Hey, this conversation. I think we should do another webinar on wife and side check. We'd have everybody fighting us on the media for it. It's.
Yeah,
I think that again, just on what you touched, I think that a lot of people are not real. Like, yeah, a lot of people are, or they're living in a certain, because these things happen,
they
and
happen all the
it's not like
time,
we can't have like the conversation around it. A
which is
case in
why we have the challenges we have.
Yeah, a case in point. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with a man of God, and very well-known man of God in this country. And he started off, we're talking about marriage, and then he said, God will be very angry with a lot of pastors. And I said, oh, man of God, in Toba, say why? And then he said, how can you be a pastor and you say that you are supposed to marry two, you are supposed to marry three? So I was a bit calm. I was just like, and then I said, man of God, are you a religious leader or you're a growing believer? It's
Hey.
like he calls me, oh, we're that cool. So he calls me Eja, even though like he's way older than me. He says that, so oh Eja, question I will be saying there. And I'm like, man of God, Yaminipa, like if I'm being real with you, I feel like a lot of men of God are religious leaders. They don't know God,
Mm,
or they've probably not encountered God, because if the actual God that you know is actually beginning to reveal himself to you, there are so many things that you probably have been fighting. And I think it's also because whenever people usually go to God, they go to God with and I know it all mentality. So he struggles to come to them, because you're already coming to God with a
yeah.
certain notion
Mm-hmm.
on that particular subject matter. And for me, listening on that wife side chick thing is interesting. I've not seen, maybe I'm yet to see in my small years of doing life, I've not seen a wife and a side chick being friends, but just a
Oh,
little in the Muslim
it actually
community,
happens. Yeah.
just a little switch in the Muslim faith, and then I see that the elderly wives will go and look for the younger wives for their husbands, and they are pretty cool. Where we grew up in Adenta, we had a home just next to us like that. And you'd go and meet them, like they are very okay, they are playing their games and everybody is vibing, but they were not, it wasn't wife side, it was first wife, second wife conversation there. So
The
I think
dynamic
that
is, even though like the
really to see the
details
same
might be different, but the is pretty
really
the
to
same
see.
thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Mm.
the wisdom there being that,
When
first
we
of
started
all,
talking about side chick, our views has gone up. Hey, people have yeah.
so the wisdom is that everything should fit in its place
Mm,
and everything should serve a purpose.
mm,
The reason why you would have a problem is because maybe the side chick doesn't have a purpose.
mm,
In quote, when I say in quote, you have a wife. The wife is serving all the purposes you need. But for
mm,
maybe pleasure sake or for some, weird thing sake, which you yourself cannot justify,
mm,
you have a
mm,
side chick. Then now
mm,
there is, so because the first wife will need to understand the purpose.
mm,
So it's just a play of wisdom. It's basically like how you manage it. Because if you are bringing something that does not serve a purpose, then how do we manage it? It becomes abuse because we don't know what the purpose is. And so however we relate with it, we are abusing it.
exactly.
But the moment the purpose can be identified, we can put it to the right use. And so
Exactly.
the younger wife comes in, respects the elderly wife, knows her position, knows her place, knows how to honor her. The elderly wife sometimes actually takes responsibility for the younger wives. It's such a it's such an interesting,
Conversation.
conversation. Like it's possible. But then
Mm,
here's the thing. The purpose for that also is fading because of the revolution of relationships.
mm,
Now we don't need numbers
mm,
when it comes to relationships or when it comes to marriage. We need
mm,
impact.
mm,
And the impact can be achieved without numbers, in
mm.
quotes. I don't know if you get what I mean. Because
I get
initially, you would have multiple wives who would bear multiple children. Like the Bible talks about the house of Israel that was built by Leah and Rachel. Two
exactly.
women, and even the two
Two
women, it
women
wasn't
and
even
their
just the
daughters.
two that gave their
Your
maids
mates.
and stuff
Yeah.
were part of the whole collaboration. So you should understand, like, the purpose of that made the act justifiable.
Hmm.
But now I can be one person. I have 2 million followers and views and whatever on social media. When I speak like this, it makes like a resounding
Yeah.
impact. You don't need 4 or 5 people for that.
Mm-hmm.
So now it has become, that's the thing. Like, when I ask you, why do you need a side chick, or why did you get a wife? Once you're able to justify, like, once you're able to clearly state the purpose, we can have a conversation, and it is very
Right.
possible to manage. But the
Mm.
moment, like, the purpose cannot be defined, that's where you have the problem. That's why I was saying that a wise man will know how to manage this.
Right. Right. Colin Spice says that can a relationship work when one party communicates into bracket call, text, etc. more than the other?
So unfortunately, how relationships are wired is that the two people have to be actively engaged. It's
Hmm.
teamwork. Have you ever been in the situation where, you have a group work, and this happens a lot in university. You have a group work, so there's 5 of you in the group, and always it's only 2 people who do all the group work, and on the day of presentation, all the 5 people will come trying to present. And when the 2 people who did the work stand to present, is different. And then when the three who didn't do the work, just pick like a point to say, you realize that what lecturers do is that, because they know that this happens in university, they will
Mm-hmm.
send the questions to the side where they know that people did not participate in the group work,
Exactly.
and then the group will begin to fumble. What happens
Mm-hmm.
is, whatever marks the group gets, that's what everybody gets.
Exactly.
So regardless of how many hours the 2 people put into the work, doing such a phenomenal work and everything, because of the 3 people
Mm-hmm.
who didn't participate, the group got a low mark, and now they have also gotten a low mark, even though they put in a lot of
Right.
work.
Right.
When it comes to teamwork, everybody has to be on board. One of the things that is a pillar in our relationship, my husband and I, is the only time our relationship falls apart is when one person is unwilling to continue to work on the relationship. And
Exactly.
so if you have a relationship where one person is not communicating, one person is not calling, one person is not, like, you try to reach out, the person is not reaching back and all that, it stresses the relationship. First of all, there's no trust, and the relationships cannot exist without it.
You
There
can't
is
even
no
build.
relationship without trust. Forget it. If you think you have, because trust is the foundation of good communication.
Mm.
The reason why you're able to communicate well with your partner is because you are not afraid of the result. You cannot communicate well where there is no trust.
Mm-hmm.
All the problems in communication we have in a relationship is because of the absence of trust. And
Mm.
so if you cannot trust that, if I call you back. So the next thing I was going to talk about was actually balance. Because the
Mm.
world is moving so fast, we need a healthy balance of change and consistency.
Right.
We need to be flexible enough to say that, oh, this is not working, let's try something else. And we
Mm.
need to be also consistent enough to know what our values are, what things we do and what things we don't do, so we can establish
Right.
boundaries. If
Mm-hmm.
we don't have that dynamic of flexibility and consistency at the same time, at a healthy balance within the relationship cannot stand.
Mm.
Because what's going to happen is, it might either be moving too fast or not moving at all, and the
Mm.
2 people are not, finding their flow within that. And
Mm.
so it always has to be that balance. Like,
Right.
one person cannot be the one always initiating.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be that equal effort.
Right. Someone says, I have a question personal to me. Friendships come easily to me, but I also easily forget people's existence except I'm intentional about sustaining the relationship or they are in my face nearly 247 and continues to say, I understand I'm introverted. I am an introverted extrovert and
Extrovert.
my upbringing plays a role. How can I curb that problem practically?
Okay, so I'm exactly like
Yes, you
you.
can keep sending your questions coming in and then we're gonna answer it. Yeah.
The interesting thing is that I'm exactly like you. And because of that, I build all my important relationships into like value systems around me.
Mm.
If you're important to me, you have to be doing something in the Let Me Be a Woman Foundation.
Mm.
If you're not doing something in the Let Me Be a Woman Foundation, you have to be doing something really, really important for me so that I'll always keep coming back to that relationship. Because I
Mm.
know that I have a tendency to forget you if you're not in my face.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I've built a system around me where the most important people to me are integrated into the important things that I do.
Mm.
So it's not like an issue of, like nepotism or something that I'll maybe put my sister as my business manager or something like that. But because I want to continue to keep speaking to my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a reason. So I have built those important relationships around my value systems. So my
Mm.
business is important to me, growth is important to me. So if you're really important to me, you're somebody that I come to periodically to have growth conversations.
Mm.
So it's good that you know that that's who you are. Now the
Mm.
next thing will be to build the systems to accommodate those important relationships.
That's right.
Because me, I think that after a while, I realized it. If I'm not around you and I'm not, like, and that's why I also have my broadcast system. I have a broadcast list of like over thousands of people. I don't check in with everybody every day. But the reason why I will keep sending that broadcast is because I want to stay connected with you. If
Mm.
I stop sending that broadcast, chances are I will not personally check up on you.
Mm.
And you might not get the opportunity to maybe text me back or see what I'm up to, or maybe say, oh, that's interesting, and I'll say, oh, hi, it's been like a while. Then we pick up. We don't have to be talking every day, but at least we maintain that semblance of a relationship. But when it comes to my very, very important relationship, I have them integrated into my life, like
Mm.
either into my business, into ministry, something that
Mm.
I'm doing, you have to be involved in there. My best friend is my vocal coach and critic.
Mm.
And if I do any recording, I'll send it to him, and he will be the one to critique my music and say, I see breath problems here. You have to work on this. You have to work on that. Even if we didn't want to talk, because we're
Mm-hmm.
working on that together, we will end up talking.
We end up talking.
Yeah. So if that's how it works for me practically, I'm happy that it was an issue that I could relate to practically so that I could
Mhm.
explain to you. So yeah, that's how I work around it.
Awesome, awesome feedback. Says, a question I have here: how does cultural or societal expectations influence our perceptions of love, friendship, and the balance between them? MBA said you were in the States, so I believe that you left Ghana to the States, so you have at least seen both cultures and both societal expectations. Can you please help my understanding?
So it's, even though it is true that in different cultures there are different expectations, I can tell you one thing for a fact. Men and women want the same thing from each other everywhere in the world.
Which is
We'll talk about it next month. Because you kind of observe, and then you realize that when I came here, actually, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the media, but like you hear a lot of um divorce rates are on the high. People don't want to marry, they just
I
want partners and stuff like that.
yeah.
It is true, but I have
Mm,
seen a lot more healthy, happier families here
mm,
than I've seen back home.
mm,
Because
mm,
you would think that at home we have a high, like we want more families, we're giving birth more. Of course, we're giving birth more, and all of that. But the dynamic of how important family is to us, because we have this whole extended family thing knit into our relationships and all that. Here, they may not have like a lot more visible, extended family systems, but they
mm.
do.
Right.
They do. And you would not see, And that's the interesting thing. You won't see a mother walking with the child alone.
Mm.
You would see a mother, the father, the father
Mm.
carrying one child, the mother carrying one child,
Mm.
and they are going somewhere, like
Um,
somewhere really important. You would think that, like usually for us, we would have, oh, I'm going for a business meeting, I can't take my child. I'm going for this, I can't take my child. You will be surprised that that kind of difference. And the thing is, African women would have loved the same thing. I think
mm.
that the challenge is the communication, and if African men are willing to be that communicative. So let's say that the cultural expectations definitely are different, because when you come to most African or Eastern communities, they're more patrilineal or patriarchal in their thinking and the way the communities are fashioned, and so
Communities.
men have more authority and power and influence in the way things go than women.
Mm-hmm.
However, in those societies, still women still have the power. It's just we just haven't learned how to use it. But
Mm.
hopefully we'll get there. And
Yeah.
then when you come into the Western world, now it's currently, more of equality, like we're all the same. And so, not like anybody has more power than the other. We're all basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, men and women still want the same thing from each other. Men
Mm.
still want a safe haven. They want peace. They want
Mm-hmm.
they want some kind of a friendship
Mm.
from a woman, and women still want safety, consistency, assurance from a man. It's like when you look at all the relationships, the thriving ones, the happy ones, are the ones that still have those primal needs. Is there, even though the interpretation of it is different, the needs are the same.
Mm.
So, like, in the past, we want the man to go out to bring the meat and everything, but it's like now we want him to cast the vision. The vision should be consistent. We know we are pursuing this as a family, we're building this together, and it is a thing that drives us as a unit. It's still the same across board, even though there are those like societal differences of how things are done. the
Mm-hmm.
the the basic needs of direction and what keeps us together as a unit are still the same.
Mm. Two questions. Let me just say, read the two so that you quickly just touch on that. Sarah says, Zoe, please, what is love? And then it says, and then it says, if I want to start a relationship, what do you think are the foundational things I should look out for in a partner?
All right. I
So
thought
you
she was going to ask
touch
what are
on
the
both.
foundational things I should look for in myself.
Okay, you could touch on that. That's what you look out for in a partner.
Right. Okay. So let me talk to you first before we go look for the partner. So there are three things you need. You asked the question, what is love?
Mm,
Love is God.
mm,
I don't know how I know this. It's one of the things I love about, I don't know whether to say my spirit or my mind. I know certain things,
mm,
and I might not be able to back it up with research or maybe
mm,
a particular scripture, but I just know.
mm,
For me, loving someone is such a gift,
mm,
because for a moment you have the opportunity to see the person as God sees them.
mm,
If you are truly in love with somebody, you don't only see their good sides. Because usually what happens is that we are in love with somebody and we are, happy. We see all the good things. We're literally blind to all the other things. And then
mm,
by the time, we settle into the relationship and the dust has settled and everything, then our eyes are open to all the bad things that were there that now we don't know
mm,
whether we can deal with or not. That is not love. Love is you see me completely as I am, and you still think that I am worthy of love and belonging. Love is I see you as God sees you. That is, I see everything that you are, and I'm willing to give. I'm willing to give to you for you to become, right? Because the Bible says that for God so loved the world that He gave His Son, that whosoever believes should not perish but have eternal life. And to them
That's
that believe, He gave power to become the sons of God. And so, when you love, you are not it's not just a feeling, it's not just like a happy feeling you have about somebody. It is a willingness to give to somebody's process of becoming. And so it's I
a
usually
willing
say that,
to get to somebody's process of becoming.
yeah, it's like you have let me say it this way. You have to be God to love. Now, when I say that, what I mean is this. Because you have to be God to love, now you have to receive love from God. Know what that looks like before you can give it. Because you cannot give what you do not have, right?
Exactly.
If you don't understand the love of God, the love of man is in poetry and in music and it's flimsy and it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. But if you want to truly love somebody, you have to know the love of God. Once you know it, you can give it. And like I said before, perfect love casts away all fear. If you love somebody truly, like, so I was going to say that, I was going to say the things you need to find in yourself before you go out there to fall in love are these three things. The first one is vulnerability. Vulnerability is the strength to surrender to something without knowing the end result. It is a willingness to give what you value to another person without knowing the end result. Typical example, God gave Jesus. Jesus went through this entire process to die, resurrect, and everything. Till this day, there are some people who don't believe in Jesus. God does not know for sure who will believe in Jesus, but He still gave Jesus. It was a risk. So your heart is important to you. It is where all of your life stems from. So when you commit your heart to another person in dedication to loving them and giving to them and pouring out your life into them, it's such a place of vulnerability because you don't know how it's going to turn out, which is why we have heartbreaks. Because you really don't know what to expect with people. Now, in order for you to be vulnerable, you have to be courageous. Courage is the ability to confront fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. Is your ability to, it's like an entrepreneur will get up, have an idea. He doesn't know, how the market is going to treat him, but he comes up with the idea and he goes into the market anyway, believing that it will turn out for his good. It doesn't always turn out for your good, but you believe enough to go out. That is courage. It takes a lot of it to love.
Exactly.
The last thing you need is hopefulness. Hope is not a feeling. Forget it. Hope is not a feeling. Now, hope involves two things. It involves what I call the pathway. And then the second thing is called personal agency. So hope is like a cognitive process. It's like a process that involves, setting goal, like having a goal, having the courage to pursue that goal and believing in your ability to achieve it. That is hopefulness. So you see, people who fail and give up, they are low on hopefulness. People who fail, get up, learn the lesson, and go again are high in hopefulness. So have you ever noticed somebody who fell in love, got heartbroken, and said, I won't love again. Now I am just a Casanova. I'm just out there eating what I can eat, and I'm not committing to anybody. That is a person who is low in hopefulness. Somebody who is high in hopefulness falls in love, gives their everything, gets heartbroken, recovers from the heartbreak, learns their lesson, goes in there again with their full heart again. And the only reason you are able to do that is because of what I call personal agency. It is because you believe in yourself. One of the things that I love about myself is that I believe that I can love and I have the courage to love. I'm not afraid of love. I'm not afraid of heartbreak. I'm not afraid of disappointments and because first of all, being able to love you is a gift. Do you know how many people are so bitter in themselves? Their heart is so hardened that they cannot just see the beauty in one person and decide that the person is worth their everything. The person is worth their every effort. Do you know how many people are in that situation? So for me, it's a privilege for me that I see you, I see the beauty in you, I see your flaws, and I still have the willingness to pour into you, to love you, to give you everything that I have, to see you become, what God wants you to become. For me, it's a gift. And I'm not afraid if you break my heart. I'm not afraid if you disappoint me. Do you know why? Because I know that I can love again. Listen, my decision to love is not based on you. My decision to love is based on me. Because I am rooted in those three values. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to be courageous. And I am very high in hopefulness when it comes to love. I mean, for somebody who, and you see, I have, and the thing is, I even have, a history of being in relationship with people that I didn't exactly completely love. Like, you won't say there are some people you are really into them, and then there are some people too, you're not that into them, but you're happy to see them become. So you're happy to be there. You're happy to be part of their journey. You're happy to be part of their process. It doesn't really matter if it's they are the man of your dreams or whatever. You just love to see them become.
Exactly.
So you need those three things. Otherwise, what will happen to you is you go out there and fear will not allow you to choose right. And it is the biggest issue we have when it comes to relationships. People are making a lot of bad decisions because of fear. If you don't listen, you have to give it up. Love, it's so hard to explain these things. Love is such that you have to risk being hurt to love. If you don't risk being hurt, you will never experience true love.
Jesus.
Yeah, is the foundation of it. You have to go into it not expecting that, but knowing that being hurt is a possibility. And being listen, every day I say that. So somebody says that, how do you go into a relationship? What if it doesn't work out? If it worked out for 6 months and 6 months didn't work out, the 6 months that it worked out, I'm happy that those 6 months worked out. I have the memory of those 6 months and I cherish it. It's unfortunate that the 6 months that followed were not as we expected, but the good old days are the good old days. And we will celebrate it, we will enjoy it, we will hold on to those memories.
A certain example just came to mind.
Jesus.
I get it. Makes a lot of sense.
You have to risk being hurt. You have to risk, you have to risk being disappointed. Otherwise, it's not love. Otherwise, it's like a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when we're doing business transactions, we do MOUs to curtail all those
All those
things that
things.
might come. So it's because we anticipate those things and we put things in place. But if you truly want to love, you have to risk being hurt.
Mm.
Yeah.
You truly want to love, you have to risk being hurt. Whew, 1 hour 40 minutes. Zoe, what are your last words? Coming
Jeez.
back to part two. What are your last words to our audience, especially
Mm,
today's conversation on relationship, love? Because it's like right now, communicating with like a lot of young people, they've given up on this thing called love. It's like, Charlie, I think everybody is messed up. So eh,
yeah.
they will go to what they can eat and then just like move on with their lives,
Yeah.
So your last words, we're coming back for part two next month. So what would
Yeah.
you say?
Next month we'll dive deeper into relationships and marriage
Next
itself.
month, next month we'll go 2 hours. Don't worry.
So I think that the challenge of this current generation, and it has been proven by research, is that we are low on hopefulness. We
Mm,
don't know how to fail. We are afraid
mm,
of failure. That's
mm,
because we were raised in such a way that we always had to win.
mm.
So the first time you failed was after you got to university and you proposed to a girl and she said no, and you don't get it that somebody said no to you.
Echo me. Then I came to propose. He said no. Like, really?
One of the things that I usually fear for those people in science and maths quiz is that for them, they are usually like always like the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
So they have very little experience with failure, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that that situation does not prepare you for the real world. Now, being able to fail and fail gracefully is healthy for you to be able to have great relationships.
Exactly.
That is the only way you will be able to have a conversation and know
Mm,
that you have to give up on what you thought was before and take up
mm-hmm.
someone else's, point of view.
Exactly.
Because sometimes communication in relationships, we are both not wrong. We're just
Mm,
seeing it from two points of view.
mm,
So I think that for me, what will be my final words will be we have to build hopefulness.
mm,
We have to believe that relationships are worth it. We have to
mm,
believe that marriage is worth it. And we
mm,
can only do that if we have hope.
mm,
The reason why you're low in hope is because you don't think that you can make a difference.
mm,
Me, I think
mm,
I can make a difference in my
mm,
marriage. That is why I
mm,
have I have the confidence I have when it comes to my marriage.
mm,
I
mm,
believe in I believe in my personal agency. I believe in my ability to be there and make it work and to follow through. And when it's not working, graciously exit it so that both
mm,
of us are not hurt.
mm,
Do you get
mm,
it? And
mm.
so if you don't believe that you can make a difference, because why are you saying that all men are liars and so you won't date? It is.
Mm. But you have a brother and sister and a father, and they are not liars.
And then the bigger question even is, are you a liar?
Mm,
Okay. If you are not, then are you worth it? Like you, the individual, are you worth it? Are
mm,
you should somebody give you a chance?
mm,
If you think somebody should give you a chance, then maybe somebody else is also worth it.
mm-hmm.
And then maybe if we are thinking that way, we will realize that there are more people out there who are worth it than the people we are describing as not worth it.
Exactly.
And so
Absolutely.
maybe we need a lot more hopefulness that
Mm,
our widows might can make a difference.
mm,
I'm here busily running an organization for young women in
mm,
the face of paternity fraud, in the face of teenage pregnancy, in the face of having conversations with people who are aborting pregnancies, and this is not their first time, this is probably their fifth time, and I still believe that women are worth it.
Mm.
I still believe that women are worth it. And
Mm.
so even though the divorce rates are on the high, it's the same for failed businesses. There are statistics that shows that several, like if you have 5 businesses, 3 out of the 5 in the first 5 years might collapse before the 5 years is over, but people are still starting businesses.
Mm.
The people
Mm.
who are starting the businesses are not starting because they think the industry is good. They
Mm.
believe in their ability to make a difference.
Exactly.
So maybe you could believe in your ability to make a difference.
A difference.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. For me, I think my biggest take home is what you just said. And then that definition of love being, your willingness to give to someone's process of
Yeah.
becoming. Because for me, I'm very huge on becoming. Like everything you're
Yeah.
looking for is looking for you, but you have to become it.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited that we had this session, and I'm seeing the feedback. Someone says, "What a Chokma school session! I love this. I'm happy that I love that you love this one for you." So we're going to bring you guys part two, God willing, the special Christmas edition of of Chokma School. It's been 12, 11 sessions so far. We're going to crown the year with the next session. I was wondering what topic to do for the 11th month, and then I had a certain dream. And then I reached out to my assistant and I said, you know what? 11th and then 12 sessions, we're doing something on love, relationship, and the balance of it in our lives, because I think that over throughout the year we've given people a lot of content on business, personal development, but a greater part of our people miss out on some of these things. And these are not things that personally in my life I would want to just show up and then talk about. So I decided, let me bring a resource person, and you've done justice to it. People love the session, and you guys, part two, your head will explode. Someone says, I want more Zoe. Someone says, the hope folders that our widowed minds can make a difference. King Leo says, thank you guys. This was an amazing session. Thank you for this webinar. God bless you for this initiative. I have been impacted. Paulina says, amazing session. Absolutely loved it. And then it says, you are blessed tonight, Woman King. My name for you today. Omo, Zoe, Woman King. Someone has given
I
you,
beg you, please.
someone has given you a new title, Woman
Who
King.
title?
Next month, we use that for our caption. We are bringing the Woman King. It was such an amazing
Oh
session.
my
Thank you
God.
so much for making time out of your busy schedule to be with us this
I'm
evening.
happy I
The
made
past
it.
1 hour, 47 minutes has absolutely been worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to go back and muse on some of the things that you shared. These are very practical things. We need them in our day-to-day life so that
Yeah.
we can be full enough to be able to be of a blessing to our world. And so someone says, can you please share her social media links? Zoe, please, can you give us your social media links? I did tag her in the post though, but she's going to share it with you guys herself. And then,
So I am at the Zoe Louise on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and
mm,
Zoe Louise on Twitter or X, and
mm,
then Zoe Louise on LinkedIn as well.
mm.
So
Alrighty. So, Ebinful, I don't know if I pronounced the name right. You just had the um, social media handle says, God bless you for this session. That's from Esther. Someone by name Ambient Universe says, your husband is blessed by, of course. What did you expect? Kendrick says, awesome. Such an amazing session. God richly bless you. Guys, we're going to be coming back your way with part two. If part one was this explosive, you have to wait for the grand finale. It's going
that
to be
will be
more
good. That will be
explosive. Yeah.
good.
So next month we're going to get to you on the date, the time, everything. You want to invite your friends for next month's session. We're rounding up the year. Who knows? I'll probably do some giveaways next month because it's Christmas. Mo is here, Santa MBA is here, so I'm gonna do some giveaways next month. But go back, muse on the things that Zoe has said. If you've been following, I've taken time off to teach you guys on meditation. And today, a couple of you that were available at the Brand MBA executive meeting were asking me how I'm able to sometimes come up with the words I come with. And I'm like, somebody can just make a statement, and the more I muse on it, words come to me. The more I muse on it, deeper understanding comes to me. So Zoe has literally given you pearls of wisdom. You want to go sit down, replay the voice, replay the video, muse on some of these things. Somebody says part two should be 4 hours. How much will you pay Zoe? If you pay Zoe, why not? An hour, $1,000, $4,000 online webinar, normal soft. When you finish, then you do consultation fee.
And no,
And that is but we'll be bringing you guys part two next month. You'll be updated. My latest book, The 7 Universal Currencies for Leveraging Anything in This World, is out. You could grab a copy on www.mosesbarthur.com. Wherever in the world you are, you could just place an order from there, or you could reach out on any of the distribution platforms on my social media handles, the Moses Arthur, across every platform, TheMoesesArthur, the Moses Arthur, and there are various distribution platforms. The reason why the 7 universal currencies was birthed is because whenever we think about currency, our mind moves very fast, and the first thing that comes to mind is currency is money. But currency is actually an age-old concept that the wealthy and the 1% of society have learned how to master. If you show up in the states where Zoe is and you need to get things moving and you do not have cash, how do you make sure that you are getting the things done without paying for it? Those are some of the things that I started musing on that came up with the 7 universal currencies. They are systems of advantages to empower your life for you to be able to win. And so if you have not read a copy of my latest book, it's just going for 80 Ghana cedis. You want to make sure that you are grabbing yourself a copy. It is very, very important. Once again, copy this live stream. It's going to be on my YouTube channel so people can keep coming back to it to learn from the pearls of wisdom that Zoe has shared. It's very, very important. You can keep coming back to it. You can keep musing on it. We're not going to delete it. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. I'm so happy that God has kept you. I'm so happy that His hand has kept you from the beginning of the year till now. And I know that God willing, next month, we will not hear any bad news. You will be with me. I will be with you. And most importantly, our lives will be blessed and we will leave the world a better place than we came to meet it. Like I always say, my name is Moses B. Arthur. I'm your humble servant, and I'm sending every single one of us love and light. Do enjoy your weekend, guys. God bless you, and thank you for making time to join us. Cheers.